People really need to stop hyping up movies as the scariest of all time. You just have to stop. How's it going, everybody? Thank you for joining me for my review of Undertone, a new horror movie that I was looking forward to. We have had a string of crap in February, really a strong start to the year with January, especially for horror. I really loved The Bone Temple, Primate was fun, and then February was just rough. And I was like, Undertone, that could be a solid one. That could save things. And did it? Well, let's start by talking about all the things I liked about Undertone. This is a great utilization of the sound design. We have a podcast host who receives this anonymous email containing 10 different audio files where they're essentially listening to a paranormal activity movie. These files are of a couple who are experiencing some potentially paranormal shit as it progressively gets worse and worse night by night. And as she listens to more and more of the files, more wacky shit starts going down in her own household. And it's all about the audio. When she puts on the headphones and all the sound drains out and you hear nothing except everything that she's hearing, and they play around with the silence in really great ways. I saw this in Dolby, and if you're gonna check out the movie, you wanna see it in the highest quality audio format that you can, because they do an incredible job with that. In so many horror movies, sound can really make all the difference. That can be some of the most effective types of scares out there, and that's what this entire movie is centered around. It's a great opportunity for some jump scares. All you have to do is have the audio get staticky or play some audio you weren't expecting, or you get a call, anything to interrupt the silence. They do a good job making you on edge, so you're constantly worried about any sound at all. It does a good job of making the audio really feel like it's in your ears, like you're the one wearing headphones yourself, like you can't escape from the sound. I also liked a lot of the shot composition as well. There are some really good shots that just linger. Oftentimes you'll have what is pretty boring imagery overall. She's sitting at a table with her podcast equipment, talking into her microphone, but she'll be off on the side of the frame, and in the center will just be a dark doorway or a dark hallway, or we'll cut over here to where half of the other side of the house is dark and you can't quite see what's going on, and it'll hold on that for a long time. It'll slowly zoom in on it, and there's just a lot of shots where you're not actually seeing anything, but because of the silence and because of the effective sound design, just seeing darkness accompanying the creepy audio did a pretty good job, again, putting me on edge, constantly wondering, is there gonna be some shit in the darkness? And my imagination will often scare me more than any movie ever can. Me just thinking that there's gonna be something there is way scarier than you actually putting something there. And when you do get some of the more direct scares, like some of the more like actually seeing things, again, it's usually handled pretty subtly. It's in the background, it's a little bit faded, it's not in your face, over the top. I think they handled that kind of stuff really well, especially because this is a first-time director. It's his feature directorial debut, and he also wrote it. I think he handled a lot of that really, really well, and I'm excited to see what else he does going forward. Nina Kiri is pretty much the only actor. You also have her mother, but she's comatose, so she's not really doing any acting. There's a nurse who comes to take care of her mother one time in the movie, but you don't even see her. You just hear her voice, and everybody else involved, you also just hear them. She is the focus of most of the movie. She has to really carry it, and so for that, I think she does a solid job. I like that it plays around with some classic, like, children's songs, London Bridge is Falling Down, Ba Ba, Black Sheep, stuff like that, and some of the mythology surrounding them, people speculating that maybe those songs have really dark origins, or people talking about playing them backwards to hear hidden messages, stuff that can be a little bit cheesy, but they make it work. And I thought for the most part, the third act of the movie was the most effective. I'll talk about the pacing in a little bit, but as we ramped up to the third act, I had some issues with the pacing. But when we get to that last audio file and the shit really hits the fan, again, the way they expertly use this sound design, and there's just so much in your ears accompanied by more visual mania than ever before going on in this girl's house as she just starts losing her mind. It was getting really effective. Like, I was pretty tense. There was a really good atmosphere being established, especially during the climax, where I was worried about what was going to be around every corner or what the next weird sound we were going to hear was going to be. The people who like this movie are really going to like it. It's going to develop a hardcore fan base because of what it does really well. But I think a lot of people are going to end up being bored by it because I think it does have some really significant issues. One of those being the pacing. This might be a weird comparison, but have you ever seen the first season of 13 Reasons Why? The main character has the 13 tapes that he's supposed to listen to, but he'll listen to one and be like, whoa, that was really heavy. I gotta let that sit for a while before I listen to the other ones, even though you could just listen to them all, but they want to drag it out one per episode to be a whole show. That's what happens in this. You're recording your podcast with your co-host, you have the audio files, just listen to them. But we get like 2 at a time before she's like, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of tired, I'm feeling kind of weird, something, excuses, let's resume it in a couple days so that we can have in between scenes, so that we can have a movie. And for a little bit, that's forgivable. I understand that you have to structure this narratively and that she is being emotionally affected, even though she is like the skeptical one between her and her podcast co-host. She is starting to get kind of worried about the creepiness of all this audio that she's hearing. So I get wanting to take breaks, but the more it happens over and over again, it really just starts to feel like you are dragging this out because you need to get it to 90 minutes. So even at only an hour and a half, it feels elongated. It feels like it should have been a short film. And it just gets repetitive. She'll record an episode. Her co-host will be like, did you hear that? No. Okay, well, it was this thing backwards. And then that ends. We go see her mom laying in her bed. Mama? And like maybe something weird's going on with the mom. Rinse and repeat. Did you hear that? Mama? Did you hear that? Mama? Like those same 2 scenes over and over again like 6 times. And it results in nothing really actually happening until the end of the movie, which is why the third act gets pretty exciting. But until then, even though I'm really liking the atmosphere and I'm tense, there also needs to be like a tangible, real fear. There needs to be like a direct implication that something could actually occur. Like, I'm hearing some creepy shit, and I'm seeing a lot of dark corners of the household, but I have yet to feel like that true terror that there could be anything really wrong, because nothing is actually occurring. Like, nothing truly meaningfully happens for most of the movie. I'm really tired of horror movies where there's a demon or some kind of creature with a proper name and, you know, they gotta Google it and find out about it. And in this one, the demon's name is Abazu. Look, it was pushing it a little bit to try to get me to be afraid of a guy named Bagul, but that movie was good. I'm not gonna be afraid of fucking Abazu. Are you kidding me? But this movie's biggest problem is its ending. It doesn't have one. When the movie ended and the director's name popped up, people in my theater laughed. Not because anything funny happened, but it was like a nervous laughter, disbelief that that could have possibly been the ending. Like, what do you mean? Nothing happened. You can't just stop there, huh? Like, shock and cope that we didn't just waste 90 minutes of our lives to get to absolutely goddamn fucking nothing, which I'm not going to spoil. I'm going to keep it vague, but it's not satisfying. It's not anything that could be described as a payoff. Just based on what had been happening and how long I could tell the movie had been going on for, it felt like it was about to wrap up, but I was like, no, it can't. It cannot stop there. If it stops there, this whole movie is ruined. And it stopped there. And in my opinion, it kind of ruined the entire thing. I had my issues with the film. I was bored at times because it felt like it was kind of sluggishly dragging on for too long, but it could have been salvaged by a really solid ending. And I think the ending completely tarnishes the entire thing. What actually happens in the story is practically nothing, and whatever the movie is trying to say, I don't have the slightest idea. There are a lot of little threads in there. There's the main character's relationship with her mother, this exploration a little bit of spirituality because her mother was very religious, the main character's possibility that she might become a mother herself, strained, maybe, some kind of relationship with her boyfriend. I can't even really say anything about it because he's only in one scene on a phone call, and we don't know anything about the guy at all. It's really not touched on very much. Themes of alcoholism, addiction, also barely touched on at all. There's a lot of those little things that are in the movie, though, especially a lot to do with parenting, because the people in the audio files they're listening to are also dealing with a potential pregnancy. There's a lot of audio and ideas surrounding babies and a lot of lore about this demon surrounding babies. And it's like, okay, so cool. How is this all gonna tie together? What are you cooking up here? You got all these ingredients. How are you gonna mix them together into a scrumptious dish? They're not. The movie just kind of stops, and none of it comes together at all. Not that I could tell, not that I could glean any from at all. Maybe there are little tiny details here and there that I didn't pick up on, but from what I could tell here, it doesn't end up actually saying anything. If you're gonna do an unconventional ending, it needs to be because it serves a grander purpose. And it really feels like they just didn't know how to end the movie, or they just are like, oh, we ran out of money. We have to stop shooting. We didn't shoot the ending of the movie. Like, I'm feeling the tension, but it has to build to something. It has to amount to something. But even though I was tense in those moments, now, after the fact, I'm not gonna think about this movie much ever again because it's such an incomplete feeling, complete product. I felt so left hanging that now I'm just frustrated more than anything. I'm waiting to see what you're gonna do with all of these ideas that you're trying to explore and how it's gonna come together in the main character's journey and what your message is gonna be. But there is no journey and there is no message. What was I there for? Yeah, audio was really cool sometimes, but like there's gotta be a larger something that you're working towards here. I also didn't like some of the camera work. The movie starts off with the title Undertone, and then the der-tone part disappears and we're just left with and then the tilts like this. I have no idea why. And then throughout the rest of the movie, we get quite a few shots where the camera will tilt like that, or already be tilted like that. It's like the exact same angle every time. I have no clue why. I don't know why it kept doing that specifically, even like baking it into the title card. There's a scene where she's doing her podcast stuff and the camera starts slowly panning to the left. And that was a tense moment. I was just on edge, like, what are they panning to? Is there gonna be something in the frame? But it just pans over, there's nothing there, nothing happens, because nothing happens in most of the movie, and then it just slowly pans back to where we were, and nothing's going on back over there either. And so in the moment, it's creepy. But after the fact, I'm distracted, just thinking, I don't know why you did that. So there were some instances where maybe it spoke to the fact that he was a first-time director, where it felt like, I can move the camera. It's like, well, you can, but you don't have to. I don't know why you did. But for the most part, I think his work here with the visuals and the sound was extremely effective. I just think this narrative was dragged on way too long with way too little happening and was entirely incomplete. Like there is no narrative. By the end, with where it all goes, there's no story. There's no theme. I got nothing out of it. And so ultimately this ends up being another one of my big disappointments so far in 2026. And I don't know, how do we end it? What do I have to do? What do I need to do? I enjoyed Hoppers. That was fun. Didn't love it, but I had a good time. It was cute. Project Hail Mary, Ready or Not 2, please, 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 please. I need some really good stuff. This is gonna have a lot of hardcore fans for sure, and if it sounds like the kind of thing you would get into, really creeped out by the audio, then go see it in the highest quality format that you can. But there's a lot of people who are not gonna be into it, and I totally get why. For me, it was worth it for the most part for that audio experience. And yet I walk away more frustrated than anything because the narrative just stopped and amounted to nothing. And that's the note that you leave on. And so unfortunately, that's the thing that has really stuck with me more than anything. Like with the amount of substance that I got from the thematic work being done in this movie, the director may as well have just walked on screen and farted directly into the microphone. It would have been just as substantive. I just need people to not overhype things so much. There are going to be people who think this is one of the scariest things they've ever experienced, but I know there are also people who just love to exaggerate, either because they want the clicks or they want to be invited to press screenings. There are people who exaggerate, whether they even realize that they're doing it or not. But when you get this language about horror movies where it's like, this is truly evil, and that evil will follow you home. I couldn't sleep after I saw Undertone. It's like, oh, really though? Is that the truth? And just make sure you know what you're getting into, because that's the danger of overhyping things. Even if somebody likes it, they could still walk away with a kind of negative experience because you overhyped them so much. So if you're somebody who's been a horror fan your entire life and you've seen so many horror movies, make sure you don't walk into it thinking that you're gonna be scared half to death. I'm gonna have no problem sleeping tonight. I'm not scared of fucking Abazu, and I never will be. But in comparison to many modern horror movies, it does a really solid job of building tension, keeping me on edge, building a good atmosphere. There are really effective moments, but those moments added up to nothing. If somebody says this scared them massively, and if somebody says it bored them to tears, I will completely understand both of those, or anywhere in between. So leave your thoughts in the comments, because this was all just my own opinion. I was disappointed by the movie, even though I respect a lot about it. And I want to know how you felt. Did you really freak out, or were you uninvested? Am I missing something about the ending? Is there some kind of complex thematic work that I just didn't grasp? Let me know. We can talk about it further down in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. If you want to see more from me, I appreciate it. And I hope to see you next time.